Hello. Tonight or today or this morning, it depends on where and when you're looking at this video, we're discussing Parshah Vayikra. And it starts with the words, Vayikra el Moshe, and he called to Moshe. So, who called? Of course, Hashem called to Moshe. Now that Mishkan has been built and completed, this parsha begins with God speaking to Moshe and in the Mishkan. And he tells him about the karbanot, the sacrifices. And there the important part of the service of Mishkan is the concept of all the sacrifices. And we learn about all different karbanot, sacrifices. So we learn about the voluntary karbanot, Allah, which, selective burnt offerings without birds, full Allah, 3 types of voluntary meal offerings, baked flour, baked loaves, and shallow fried meal offerings. We learn about voluntary meal offerings, deep fried meal offerings, Amer offering, and broth which is brought on the second day of Passover. And Hashem provides a very detailed instruction about all the karbanot and how they should take place. On top of that, he instructs Jews to add salt to every animal sacrifice or every meal offering. And this is added as a symbol of everlasting salt covenant between us, Jews, and Hashem. He also commands us not to include any leavened items or any items containing honey in any of the temple offerings. Then he talks about the peace offering, the shalamim sacrifices, sin offerings, and hatat, all the common sins offering, common man, and whether the sin offerings are done by, the sins are committed by the Kahanim, Kohen Gadol, or the king, or the Sanhedrin court, and all of this is explained in absolute detail, in utter details. And then the section concludes with guilt offerings, Asham sacrifices, and then the Karban Tadah, the thanksgiving offerings, which Jews basically were providing sacrifices when they recovered from a sickness or returned back from a dangerous trip or survived some kind of a danger, etc. Now, the question comes up, why salt? And what all of this has got to do with salt? A common denominator between various offerings is salt. We put salt on every part of karbanot, as I said earlier. And the relationship, Hashem commands us to place salt on the offerings, and it means that we should offer up the parts of ourselves that are not naturally inclined towards elevation. And salt is not naturally inclined towards elevation. For instance, if the salty waters evaporate, all water itself evaporates, so it elevates. But the salt remains on the ground. It stays down put. And this is why we are commanded to put salt on all sacrifices so that salt can get elevated as well. The Torah describes the covenant between God and us, his nation of the priests, as salt covenant. And our sages explain that salt is one item of food which never decays. It remains eternally fresh, and as much as our relationship with Hashem should be. and it never expires. Or salt never becomes even slightly stale. Interestingly, the symbol of our relationship with God is a food item which by itself, independently, doesn't add anything to, is not eatable. You cannot eat salt by itself. But its primary purpose actually is to add wonderful taste to practically all other foods. There is a great meaning in this. Similarly, our relationship with Hashem is not an end in itself. Rather, it's meant to be, it's meant to give a spiritual flavor, a spiritual aspect to every aspect of our life. Everything we do is associated with Hashem, is done for Him, because of Him, or with His help. We have to liberally sprinkle salt on every part of our life, in our workplace, at our dinner table, in our gym, in our holiday, whenever we're going for holiday. We should still remember Hashem. Because of Him, He helps us to go for the holiday. And when our love for God and our desire to serve Him with every fiber of our being is our leading motivation, then all we do is actually done for Him. We eat and we exercise so that we have strength to serve Him. We work so that we have means to serve Him. We love our families. We share our love with every friend we have and with all our community because of Him, because He told us to, and because we feel like it. And all of this is where the marriage of human endeavors and Hashem takes place. So, some other religions, when life is becoming very difficult, they run away to the monasteries. They run away to somewhere high in the mountains, away from realities of life, and they seek nirvana, or they really seek elevation in being alone somewhere in a cave. For us Jews, we share our life with our friends, with our families, with our communities. We live full life every day, but in every aspect of it, we remember Hashem. And that's why when life is salty, there is no need to run away to the monastery. That's what Vayikra is all about. Life was meant to be salty. Goodbye. Have a nice day, evening, morning, whatever it is, and I will see you next time in Tzav. Thank you.